So for the vertebrae, you have three different, right? You have your cervical vertebrae, your thoracic vertebrae, and your lumbar vertebrae. Right? The distinguishing types between the things that distinguish them are if you come to your cervical vertebrae, they're going to have the transverse processes as well as the transverse foramina, right? Notice that these both have transverse processes, but they lack that transverse foramina. So that's going to be the foreshore way to know that it's cervical, right? Because if you get to C7 and then T1, they're going to look very similar because they're closer together structurally. But C7 is going to have those. T1 is going to have none on either side, okay? Another big distinction between the vertebrae is their bodies, right? You can see that this is the lumbar one, not only because it's got more supporting with the thicker structure for the transverse process, but it's got a thicker body to support the discs that are in your lumbar spine, okay? So let's talk about each one specifically. You have your body of the cervical spine vertebrae. You have your transverse process of the cervical vertebrae. And then you have your transverse foramina of the cervical vertebrae. Then you have your spinal or vertebral foramen, which is going to be on all of them, and it's going to run through the entirety of your spinal cord. Then you have your spinous process, which is always going to be jutting posteriorly and downwards. Does that make sense? So it's always going to be to the back and down. So for the cervical ones, you only need to know two specific ones because they're pivotal to your being able to look around, basically. You have your atlas and your axis, right? Atlas holds the world on his head. So you remember the occipital condyles that we talked about on either side of the foramen magnum? That's where that articulates with, right? So that's what allows for the turning from side to side with your head, okay? So moving on, thoracic has a body, has the transverse process, has the spinous process, and it has the vertebral foramen. The thing that's going to be unique to these, the thoracic as well as the lumbar, is got lamina. Lamina is coming from, see how it is kind of going to the side and then comes to a point? It's going to be that area that's coming to a point. Not the point itself, that's the spinous process. The area on either side that's coming up into it. Okay? Then the same for the lumbar. You've got your body, you've got your spinous process, or you've got your spinous process, you've got your transverse process, and then you've got your lamina coming out that way. Okay? And then your vertebral foramen. The only thing you need to know about the sacrum is that this is the sacrum. That's it.
Sweet.
Right? You got your sacrum up here, and you come down here and you see how it comes together and then juts back out. It's going to be your coccyx, otherwise known as your tailbone. It's a vestigial trait, depending on who you ask. Alright, pause.